Citizens Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided as specified in the Act. Proper notice of this budget hearing and refunding bond ordinance was provided in the notice of March 15, 2012. Said notice was published in the Nutley Sun on Thursday, March 15, 2012. Posted at the entrance of the board office on March 15, 2012. Mailed or faxed in the Nutley Sun, the Star Ledger, the New Jersey Herald News, and the Nutley Journal. Mailed or faxed to the Nutley Township Clerk. Posted on the district's website. The purpose of this meeting is 1. To conduct a public hearing on the 2012-2013 school budget. 2. Adopt the 2012-2013 school budget. 3. Conduct the regular monthly business that will normally come before the Board of Education. No more action will be taken. This is an official meeting. Please rise. Flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Here. Flynn, here.
Can't hear, madam. Yes, sir.
Dr. Reed.
Here.
Mr. Rogers.
Here.
Mrs. Russo. Here. Mrs. Valera.
Here.
Mrs. Rosado.
Here.
Mr. Phillips.
Here. We now have the public hearing on the budget presentation of Mrs. Hughes. The board members will be sitting in the first row.
Good evening. The following presentation is the 2012-2013 budget for the Nutley Public School District. Our budget process began in the fall of 2011. We conducted numerous meetings with administrators, central office administrative team, and the finance committee of the board. Every line item was carefully examined. The budget has been designed to meet the academic goals and to increase student performance. We began the budget by asking ourselves several questions, such as, how can we begin to spend smarter? What are we currently purchasing that can be shifted to a more effective product and end result? This slide is a comparison of the revenue for the current school year, 2011-12, to 2012-13, showing where revenues have either increased or decreased. The first line of the budget always starts with the fund balance. That is also known as the excess surplus from June 30th, 2011. The current year is $535,000. Next year, $242,000. So we started out with a reduction in revenue just on the first line of $293,000. Following that is the tax levy, which is increased at the 2% cap. So our revenue increases by $962,000. Then there are items such as tuition, transportation, interest on capital reserve, miscellaneous revenue, which takes in things such as rentals, E-rate income, donations, our extraordinary aid, and then comes the state aid. This year, the district received an increase in their state aid of $639,000. semi-Medicaid aid brings up the balance to come to a total of revenue for 12-13 of $56,865,679, or an increase of $1.1 million.
Next came the task of determining how we're going to spend this money to best serve the students of Nutley Public Schools. There are certain requirements based on a program that we had to increase, things especially in special services category. We're constantly being flexible with our staff, depending on the needs of the students defined by IEPs and other special needs. And as you can see, we already know that we have to increase one full teacher as well as 4 paraprofessionals, so that has to be taken into account. In order to meet the reductions, if you will, in the budget, we initially started off with a number based on staffing that was the equivalent, we use a term called full-time equivalent, FTE, of 5 secretarial FTEs and 12 teaching FTEs. And you're going to see how that played out. We had to work to a target number, doing what we felt was best, again, for the students. What that actually turned out to be was the following. We worked not only with the association and with the administrators. It took about 2 months to make sure we went step by step through this process, so that we were doing at every point in turn what we felt was best and only what we had to make sure that we could meet our budget. This turned into a reduction of 1 FTE from the Industrial Arts Department. And in order to read this chart, just so you can see and make it clear, I listed the reductions by department as well as the impact to class size, average class size. And it's a bit complicated, and I'll talk through that. If you see simply a number, that number is the average class size, and with nothing after it, pretty much equivalent to the class sizes as they are now. If you see that number followed by either a plus or a minus, the plus indicates that this is an increase from the previous year, and the minus indicates that it's actually a decrease in class sizes from the previous year. Again, we work through each department individually, working with both the principals at the 7-12 level as well as the content coordinators. Again, in industrial arts, we reduced by 1 full-time equivalent, 7-12. As you can see from the class size numbers, they're going to stay for the most part exactly where they are. The class sizes, again, are an average. Within industrial arts, there are any number of courses. They're all different content standards, different instructional methods, and some of them may be well below that, but very few are above that. And so again, we're talking about from the department. In language arts, we actually had a reduction in 3 full-time equivalent positions. High school numbers stayed fairly constant, 25, possibly a little bit less. Our middle school actually increased, but our numbers were already low, and they're increasing to 20 from about almost 19. So between 18 and 19 to an increase of 20. In mathematics, we lost the equivalent of 2 FTEs. Our high school numbers again staying constant, 23 at the high school, and increasing to approximately 20 for middle school as well. Science, we did not make any changes, probably because the science classes, the way they're scheduled with labs, make it very difficult to keep class sizes where they should be for proper instruction. So we did not touch the science department at all. Class sizes still, though, as you can see, remain very high at the high school, 27, and we're actually being able to bring that number down to 25 here at the middle school. So that was an increase in bonus for that. Social studies, we're losing the equivalent of 2 full-time equivalents. And again, class sizes, again, I confirmed with the coordinators today, as they've, based on these numbers, draft scheduled their buildings and the student populations that we know, and course sections that we have at our fingertips. So they could give me these numbers today so I can speak with confirmation. World languages, we lost the equivalent of 2 full-time equivalents, and again, the numbers are staying the same. So you ask how we would work this magic by reducing positions and keeping the numbers where they are, in fact, reducing some. In some cases, that really comes to our effect on our program. I do want to speak to this idea of the numbers that you saw on the previous chart are simply numbers, but how they actually impact the program. Again, we were in a position where we had to make decisions. So we tried to do them collaboratively and always keep the best interests of kids driving the decisions. That said, it's never easy to trim. And because of that, as you can see from the first bullet, one of the first and most important impacts we're going to have on the program is that our teachers at the 7-12 level across the board are going to be teaching the full contractual load. And that will take its toll. There are many teachers at 7-12 that already were teaching the full 6 pupil contacts. But in order to achieve this, we have to work for everyone to that. And that will take its toll in the sense that teachers will be teaching the equivalent of one extra section, which, while fully within contract, trying to keep numbers down and make sure teachers can give students more individualized attention. The good news is that those class sizes will be remaining constant, or in many instances going down. In language arts and in math, we had to reschedule how we support some of the struggling students. Recommendations came from content supervisors as well as the building principals as to how we can better service students. We've been trying certain things during the class of the school day, and as far as some of our administrators are concerned, they weren't having the maximum effect. We're going to be trying something that's a little more cost effective but also more focused to see if we can achieve better results with those students for next year. Also in math, you'll notice that we added a grading foundation development class. This is a higher level class for 8th grade students who were not able to get into it before. So in a sense, we've actually added an extra section of math to kind of make the offering more robust for students at the middle level. In science, where we did have no decrease in FTE, and class sizes were actually coming down, we also did that while adding 2 courses, a forensic science honors course for the high school, as well as a graded accelerated physical science course, which will entail one of our high school teachers coming down to the middle school for a period of day to give students access to accelerated coursework. In world languages, we have not touched any of the program offerings, but we will be, unfortunately, not offering Latin for 7th grade only next year. This is seen as a 1-year move as we reorganize schedules. But again, we have not touched the full program. We're looking to kind of bring that back. 2 other things I want to talk about: elective scheduling, especially at the high school. We've had a fairly soft rule about when we do not offer classes. In other words, when we have a low turnout, low student subscription for a class, we have to make a decision as to whether or not we want to offer that class based on, as I said, low student subscription. In the past, we've kind of been able to play with that number, but we have to kind of hold that hard floor this year at the 10 students, as it has been stated always. Kind of balancing that is that we are offering those new courses, trying to make more robust coursework available to students while meeting budget. Other pieces that we're doing with the current budget. Brought in here, we want to make sure we're giving teachers and students the best resources. We have not in the past really set aside resources to support technology, to support classroom instruction and curriculum work. And so we're trying to rebalance the budget this way and make sure that we have enough resources in the budget, enough room in the budget to make sure that our classrooms have what they need, our teachers have access to what they need. Making sure that we have professional development that goes beyond the contracted hours, so we can give teachers the opportunity to continue their learning and their collaboration beyond the school day. And based on our QSAC findings, we have some critical curriculum work to do. Based on the work that we want to do with assessment, going beyond our QSAC findings, we're going to need some resources to make sure teachers have the information that they need to service all students. Some of the new programs that we're going to be pushing. Really trying to make sure we are where we're supposed to be in the 21st century when it comes to technology. Removing our dependence on paper and making the entire district more efficient. We are currently engaged in the search for a new student information system, putting critical information at everyone's fingertips as necessary. We have already begun moving into an automated personnel system, which includes not only the call and call out structure for our staff members, but as well as the substitute maintenance. We've been paying people to do this on a daily basis, and we no longer have to spend the money in that direction. It's actually much more efficient when it comes to finances. We're going to be redesigning the website, as many people already know. We've already selected a vendor. We're going to work with them. We're in the design phase now. I'm excited about what we'll roll out in the next months. And Performance Matters is up there. It's a way of leveraging student performance data internally, so we don't have to rely on such things as the NJ Ask and wait around for HESPA scores to tell us how our kids are doing. Capital reserve. Unfortunately, in budgets past, we have not set aside sufficient funds to make sure we are maintaining the resources that we have physically, our physical capital, our buildings, our fields, making sure that when we come in, students, everything is safe and as it should be. This has to be taken care of. We're going to be acting as a responsible district. We had to set aside certain monies for that to make sure that as we move forward, our buildings are what they need to be. And this is taking a big one, but maintenance. We have to operate. We're a fully functioning district with over 4,000 students, 7 buildings, and we have to support all the maintenance that goes along with that. With that, we sometimes have to make certain purchases so that our maintenance staff can in fact function And unfortunately, we don't keep that rolling over in budget, so when those purchases come up, we kind of have to find them from a year-to-year basis, and that's part of this year's budget as well.
This next slide details the major categories of expenditures. Again, giving you a comparison for the current year, 2011-12, to what we have budgeted for 12-13, indicating the increases and decreases. Your decrease in regular instruction is coming from the FTEs that are being reduced in the areas that Mr. Lazovic just reviewed. Our special education instruction costs continue to increase. Another big area of increase is school administration. As you know, we've had interim special ed directors and interim principal at the high school. Next year, and also a world language coordinator, and next year those will be 3 permanent appointments. And the area of health benefits, we currently have a projected increase in our health benefits of 10%. It is a lot less than last year's. Last year we were budgeting 16 or 17%. So we are happy to see that that amount has decreased. And then the increase in capital outlay for the capital reserve account. So that concludes the presentation for this evening. Thank you so much on behalf of the Board of Education and the entire school district community.
Hearing of the citizens. We now come to the portion of our meeting where we allow members of the public to address the board. In this section, we allow questions or comments only on the budget presented at tonight's meeting. Board regulations allow 20 minutes for these communications. Each person shall be limited to 3 minutes. We ask you to try to stay within this requirement. Speakers may speak more than once only after all others wishing to speak on a topic have been heard. All statements be directed to me as the chairperson, and no one may address the board members individually. Please be reminded that if your statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or redundant, participation may be terminated. Please remember always to state your name and address each and every time you address the board. The first person wishing to be heard, please step forward. Seeing no one stepping forward, I close this portion of the meeting. And we have a discussion of the budget amongst the board members and ask questions. Mr. Sasano, will you move the
Mr. President, I move,
first we gotta move it. Okay. There we go.
I move the approval of the 2012-2013 budget as written.
Discussion.
Mr. President, I reviewed the minutes of the last Finance Committee on the budget presentation, and I'm just asking, this is policy, I have a great voice, and I apologize. Following the practice we've set in place for the committees, I don't see where the committee formally did an adoption of the budget prior to it presented here this evening in your minutes.
Correct. We did not vote as a committee internally. We discussed it. It's the same budget at that point in time. This is essentially the same budget that was presented to us that we approved earlier for the preliminary budget, and we talked about the presentation. You are correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Question. What was the, where were we starting in this budget, just for refresh my recollection as to where we were as a deficit when we first started doing budget prep.
I think it was 1.1 million.
Okay. I
A
just
little
want,
slightly north of a million.
okay, all right. I just wanted to remind you.
Any other questions, discussion? Not full roll, please.
Mrs. Stanchek Martin,
Yes.
Mrs. Flynn,
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Rogers,
Yes.
Mrs. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. Scalera,
Yes.
Mr. Spizzato,
Yes.
Mr. Copeland,
Yes. Public hearing on the refunding bond ordinance. First out of here is citizens. We now come to the portion of the meeting where we allow members of the public to address the board. In this section, we allow questions or comments only regarding the public hearing on the referendum bond ordinance. Board regulations allow 20 minutes for these communications. Each person shall be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask you to try to stay within this requirement. Speakers may speak more than once, but we have all others wishing to speak on the topic have been heard. All statements will be directed to me as the chairperson, and no one may address the board members individually. Please be reminded that if your statement is too lengthy, person-directed, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or redundant, your participation may be terminated. Please remember always to state your name and address each and every time you address the board. First person should be heard. Mr. Board.
Good evening, Mr. President. Alan Thomas, 108 McKinley Street. Mr. President, I assume we're doing a refunding bond ordinance because it's going to save us money. Could you give us some of the details, how much per year we're going to save?
Roughly, it's the equivalent of saving about 200 basis points on the 125 basis points on the loan. And the annual savings, at least in the initial 10, 15 years, is approximately $50,000 a year, and then it trails off because of the timing of there were two referendums that were included in this, the 04 and the 06. So after the 04 is paid down, the savings that we actually was the outstanding balance.
Over how many years?
We're keeping the same life of the bonds, it's essentially the same payment schedule reduced for the lower interest rates. So they were 25-year bonds. So the 04 have we got 16 years to go, and the 06 we got 8 years to go.
Savings that we got, all the expense.
The net of all expenses, the cost has to be incorporated into the savings. There are regulations that, one, require a district to refinance if the potential savings is more than 3%. It's essentially required, and you can't do it unless there are 3% net savings. So it's not only smart, but it's required. Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard? If not, I'll close this portion of the meeting. Mrs. Russo, you move the ordinance.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to move refunding bond ordinance of the Board of Education of the Township of Nutley in the County of Essex, New Jersey, providing for the bonds of the school district dated August 15, 2003, issued in the original principal amount of $2,923,000, and all or a portion of the outstanding callable school bonds of the school district dated February 1st, 2005, issued in the original principal amount of $14,930,000, appropriated not to exceed $13,100,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $13,100,000 refunding bonds to provide for such refunding. I so move.
Discussion. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Stanchek Martin,
Yes.
Ms. Flynn,
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski,
Yes.
Dr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Rogers,
Yes.
Mrs. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. Scalera,
Yes.
Mr. Spizzato, Estrada,
Yes.
Mr. Costa,
Yes. Now come to the regular portion of the agenda items. Mr. Lester, would you like to introduce the first?
Happily. We have some guests with us today to showcase some of the incredible things that go on in our school district. Was approached both by Mr. Schwartz and by Mr. Camelli about some of the exciting things they've been doing with some of the students at Yannickel School. Obviously, character is always one of our focuses here in Nutley. We have a proud tradition of character in the community and the school system. Of recent, bullying has become a very hot issue in the media, and some of our kids took it upon themselves to step up and get out a message about how we feel about bullying and supporting one another. So I want to congratulate everyone and introduce our guests from the Yannickel School. I want to introduce the piece we're going to sing.
Good evening. My name is Leslie Camelli. I am a sixth grade teacher and the anti-bullying specialist at Oratorical School. Thank you, Mr. Lazovic and members of the Board of Education for inviting us here tonight. We are so proud of this video we created and thrilled to share it with you tonight. It was truly a labor of love. I'd first like to introduce the Yannickel School Safety Team. They are a group of dedicated, caring individuals, and it has been a privilege for me to work with them all year. They are Dave Sorensen, Lauren Alfaro, Kathy Flannery, Becky Olivo, Mary Contrella, Diana Rambaldi, Debbie Teen, and our parent representative, Teresa Allen. Our school safety team has been working diligently to create a caring community. We accepted this challenge to raise awareness and teach students how to stand up to bullying by entering the contest. The National School Climate Center partners with the Broadway musical Wicked to bring bullying prevention support for the Bully Bus campaign. As you may or may not know, Elphaba, the Green Witch from Wicked, was misunderstood and mistreated because she was different. She is a symbol of why it is important to stand up against bullying. The video had to show how students were taking a stand against bullying. The final product was such a collaboration of many forces, so we'd like to take this moment to thank some of those people involved. First, we would like to thank Mr. Lazovic for giving us the go-ahead and the support and encouragement to actually enter the contest. Ms. Gina Villani and Mr. Andrew Levine for putting together the media release form for our students in a short amount of time. Crystal Seizure for always being ready to help out. With her knowledge and creativity, she was truly an asset to our team. And we would also like to especially thank Mr. Jim Kelly for helping us with the filming and editing and for sending us such a talented young lady, Raquel McCabe, I know she's here, who not only understood our vision, but had so many creative ideas of her own. She's planning on going to college to study in this field, and when you see this video, you will agree she had a great start in Mr. Kelly's class. Finally, I would like to thank the Yannickel community for your undying support and encouragement, not only to us, but also to our students. Now, I would like to introduce four of our student representatives because they would like to share their experiences with you. We have Allie Rubens, Noah Roselli, Jack Halligan, and Carrie Zell.
Hi, I'm Allie Rubens, the Student Council President in Yannickel School. I learned from this amazing video that even though I'm just a kid, I have a voice and that I can change the world by just standing up and voicing my own opinion. Bullying is a wicked thing, and Yannickel School wants to end it, for good. We all need to stand up for each other, even if we aren't all best friends, because nobody deserves to go through this kind of pain. If we all get together, we can end bullying. Just one voice can change the world.
Hi, I'm Noah Roselli, and I'm a member of the Yannickel School Student Council. It was an honor to be in the video. During the process of the video, Yannickel had to come together just like people have to come together to stop bullying. The video, to me, explains about how we can all stand up to bullying. Even though I am just one kid, I know that I can start an uprising to stop bullying.
Hello, my name is
Jack Halligan. I'm a 6th grade student at Yannicka School and the attendance secretary of Student Council. It is a great honor to be featured in this video. I learned that if we can all come together, we can stop bullying. When it comes to bullying, if we all stand up, we can recreate the world.
Hello, my name is Carrie Singh, and I'm a 6th grade student at Yannicka School, as well as a member of Student Council. It was such an honor to take part in the video we made, as well as join the fight to stop bullying and try to influence the communities and the world. Our video helped me realize that when a voice speaks up, a change can be made, and there is no louder voice than that of the united students in the school determined to make bullies an endangered species. The video Yannicka School created together represented not the horrors of bullying, but hope, and the effort as well as the voices of a school that wants to end it and will stand up. Thank you.
Ask the board members if they can note that it's up and down evening, sorry. And while they're doing that, just once again, Mr. Sorensen and to all the teachers, it's a shining example of everything that we hope for our kids. And for you guys, thank you for being here and speaking in front of everybody. We're all excited to watch all your hard work.
congratulate the Declamation family on doing an excellent job on such an important topic. Congratulate. We'll take a slight break, and students may want to get home with their homework. Things like that.
Mr. President, if I could, we just watched that, I think, great PSA. I'd like to see if we could show that, we should show that in all of our elementary schools to let them know what was done in another elementary school inside our township, and to maybe force other schools then to have thoughts like Yannicott did in the future. Thank you.
For those minutes, I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Mr. President, I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Number 7.
Correspondence?
Yes, Mr. President. We received a variance notice for permission to maintain an existing daycare in the property located at 174 Bluefield Avenue. The variance is from the codes of Nutley, being 200 feet within school property. The variance has been forwarded to Mr. Spazzato.
Thank you. Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Before I begin, it happens every time we meet, but I did want to say thank you, Mr. Viemeister, Mr. Kelly, and all of these wonderful students for making sure that, number one, things like this can be seen at a board meeting, but also that we can be seen after the board meeting. I know where other than American Idol, watching us on the web is America's favorite pastime. So thank you for those of you helping to make that possible. As far as updating the board, a number of things for today. The first is just an update on staffing. We had our committee round for the high school principal. We saw 5 candidates, a committee of 13 members of different stakeholder groups, from parents to administrators and teachers, support staff, and the rest. We'll be making recommendations shortly. We're currently now checking the references of the 3 candidates who moved forward from that round. Board language coordinator, we're actually phone screening the 37 applicants. We're whittled down to a paper screen to about 15. We'll be phone screening those next week. Director of Special Services, we had 39 total applicants. They were paper screened and phone screened. We were bringing together 5 applicants for committee interviews. Committee is comprised of nurse, LDTC, 4 teachers, 4 special education teachers, 1 from each level and 1 from our artistic program, 2 parents from the community, as well as an administrator in one of the buildings where we house our special education programs, and 2 central office administrators. That's happening this Thursday. Finally, just as an update, we have the middle school principal position open. It's open until this Friday. Currently, we have 67. Note to the board, in the past, we haven't necessarily kept up with this, but we have the board self-assessment, which we talked about, retreat and briefing, as well as the superintendent's evaluation, which is probably important to me. It's due April 30th. I talked with the board president, we formed an ad hoc committee. As I said before, the school board website, which will be forwarded to you tomorrow, has all the updated information, including our goals for the year. So I'm working with the ad hoc committee. We need to complete those, and then the ad hoc committee will put everything together for a meeting with the full board to review both. We are right on timeline as far as school boards is concerned to make the April 30th. Under academics, the first thing I'd like to talk about is 12 administrators and I journeyed to Philadelphia over the weekend to participate in the Association for Supervisors of Curriculum Development National Convention. It is one of the most well-attended academic conventions. It talks about cutting-edge teaching and learning and what's going on. We will have a full report to the academic committee from all the members that attended. I can tell you everything from evaluation and technology to special education, inclusion, differentiation, from experts from around the world, literally. We've gotten great feedback verbally from the people who attended. I would like to make a presentation and talk about how it affects what we're doing, and hopefully in the future we can bring teachers as well to that convention. We were visited by the state over the past 2 weeks. Based on their QSEC findings, we had members of the state come in and do academic walkthroughs of some of our elementary buildings. They're compiling a written report, which again will be presented first to the academic committee, and then to the board as a whole, as well as the building principals and eventually the staff. We're going to sit down and kind of go through that. They're talking to us about what they see as far as best practice, and we'll take all of their assessments of their advice as we kind of move forward, working with the teachers and administrators to reform the program where necessary. This is the first of a couple of walkthroughs. The next will be math, and as they get in touch with us as to who they want to bring, when they want to bring them, we then make the buildings available to them as they see fit. Also on today's agenda, you'll see the program of studies. Again, the second piece of our work redefining academic program was the middle school program of studies, which has gone through the full process and awaits your full approval tonight. Ms. Villani has wasted no time working with the coordinators and the elementary principals. She's had a couple of legal meetings, bringing them together to make sure that we have full articulation horizontally at that level, also vertically, all the way to 12th grade, so that we have one consistent plan. It's work that will take a bit of time, but it's good work, and they're at it. Race to the Top, we talked about this a little bit. Our initial application for Race to the Top funds was approved. It's just shy of about $20,000, which we can then take and pass on to teachers and administrators in the form of support to examine curriculum as well as assessment. This will most likely fund a lot of the summer work we hope to do with our staff. The only other piece as far as the board is concerned are academics, is I've had 2 separate meetings with assistant commissioners, and I have one more this week and one the following week, just trying to get a handle on where the state sees us going and how things will impact the district, trying to be part of the conversations we've talked about, making sure that Nutley is both an example but also a voice in the room as they make a lot of these critical decisions which will impact how we operate, how our faculty and administrators operate, and therefore how our kids learn. We're trying to make sure that we're a constant voice at those tables. As far as student updates, I want to congratulate Mr. Kandari, and it would be possible to list them all of the people who were involved in the unbelievably successful production of Cabaret recently. I know pretty much everyone up here was able to attend, some more than once. I come from a theater background. It's a difficult show, and they did it proud. And to Mr. Kandari and everyone from the other administrators, we had separate volunteers. Some of them actually work on Broadway. Certainly the students who did an incredible job, but then especially, and it sometimes goes inside to the parents who support the fine performing arts programs here in the district. Just an absolutely incredible job. So kudos to them. I want to thank Ms. DeVillio, as well as some of the guidance counselors who made possible the 5 Muslim secrets for every college girl program. We brought in an author who's been working with young people, especially young girls, about what it takes to succeed moving forward. She gave a wonderful talk and handed out books. We had over 150 people from middle school and high school attend, 94 students as well as parents, siblings, and friends. These are the kinds of opportunities we've been talking about making a regular occurrence here, and really leveraging community outreach, student outreach, so that every year we have a program of, of course, a program that make sure we're going beyond just the school day. As you can see, I wanted to congratulate the Anacostia students again for the fabulous job that they did, but also mention Ms. Rubash, Teresa, at the high school put together a podcast. We're really leveraging technology. And again, that podcast really centered around bullying as well. It seems to be one of the things that's pulling a lot of excitement beyond the classroom. It's available on our website. And it was really just a terrific job of, once again, reaching out to students as to how they're affected and how they can affect this whole idea of bullying. Our gifted and talented students across the district, there are a number of things that we should speak of. In a competition called Academically Speaking, both our teams, one elementary and one middle, won very significant victories over their first round opponents, and they're both moving forward. We have a second elementary team that is yet to compete, but we're hoping for the same. Ms. Napolitano works with these teams of students to prepare them for such competitions, and then they kind of represent the district out and beyond the classroom. It's a nice thing to see. The other piece is that as part of the Essex County Oratorical Declamation Tournament, which is a mouthful in itself, we had 2 elementary students, Ellie McCreesh from Washington School, who won 4th place for her speech reenacting Susan B. Anthony, and Jennifer Hallfeld from Spring Garden won 5th place for her speech, which recreated Patrick Kennedy's famous "Give Me Liberty" or the exception, the alternative. Finally, just as an update, a few pieces of technology. First is our student information system. Mr. Levine is taking a group of administrators, teachers, and support staff to 2 districts to follow up the site visits on 2 vendors that move forward through our process. We'll have more information back from him tomorrow. As I mentioned before, our website's in the design phase, which is exciting. We start rolling out, we have a full plan which we will present to the board as far as what the website will encompass and how we roll out step by step, providing the appropriate professional development, and making sure both everyone in district and without organizations, PTSAs, etc., PTOs, are involved in that. We've had numerous evaluation trainings, most recently with administrators. We're leveraging technology to house all of our evaluations and make both the administrative piece less cumbersome and more efficient, but also we'll be rolling out annual evaluations and reflections to all of our staff. We're truly trying to promote reflection as the core piece of evaluation process, regardless of what's going on outside the district. We've said from the beginning that when we talk about evaluations, our core focus is growth. And the number one way to improve growth, to foster growth, is through personal reflection. So we're rolling that piece out to the teachers. The last piece, I'm sure the board will be happy, and I'm wearing mine. Our swipe card system at the high school is now fully operational. Staff have their swipe cards as do district and building administrators. Everything is currently functioning and moving forward. As we talked about, Mr. Nicolette has been raring to go moving toward the building and make sure that we're constantly moving forward with security measures so that we're doing everything possible we can to keep every building safe and secure for our students, our staff, and the community.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board Secretary.
Everything was covered in the budget presentations.
Committee reasons.
Again, just to reiterate some of the comments by Superintendent Lazovic, the academic committee meeting met this past Tuesday on March 20th, and Ms. Villani did share some preliminary findings regarding the CUSAC report. And there appears to be some misalignment regarding our K-6 curriculum. And for example, this misalignment or lack of a common language can be seen both across and within grade levels. To be more explicit and not to single out any particular schools, you may find a 3rd grader at Washington School who may not have the same curriculum as a 3rd grader at, let's say, Lincoln School for that matter. And as a consequence, that creates some discord for the district regarding our hope and our approach towards moving toward this idea of a common assessment. So that's something that the district is well aware of, and it's on our agenda to be taken care of through this K-6 program of studies. Also, in addition, I want to congratulate Ms. Villani. She did complete her application. I know she burned the midnight oil that evening regarding our Race to the Top funding. So that's going to be an opportunity for us to involve curriculum writing and program review for language arts as well as mathematics. In addition, the curriculum writing piece and program selection process will include a collaborative approach between administrators as well as teachers. To again piggyback on the recent point regarding our technology, we are moving in that direction to have our SIS system up and running very soon. I know we have the 2 vendors that have been identified. I'll give you that information right there. Okay, mention them. Real-Time and Genesis are the 2 contenders. So hopefully we'll have an answer on that very shortly. Regarding our website, we did identify SchoolPoint as our, what we call a webmaster or a web host. And now they are currently in the process of meeting and talking to various school administrators to get each school's website up and running. In addition, Ms. Russo also commented regarding our PTO involvement, that we're just trying to at least to ensure that we're deploying the resources the best way possible, and this whole idea or notion of moving towards buying or purchasing classroom library materials for our K-6 students and so forth. And that's a direction that I think the board, or at least we would like to encourage our PTOs to think long and hard and meet with the administrators regarding what their needs are. And that's essentially it regarding our report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reed.
Mr. President, thank you very much. I don't believe my microphone is working, but the administration committee has been meeting quite a bit. It's been a busy couple of weeks for us, not only at our meetings, but then we've had some phone conversations trying to tie up some loose ends. We had a very productive presentation by the solar consultant, as you'll see on one of the presentations coming forward tonight. We're going to be looking at moving forward with the solar consultant, and also in conjunction with the town of Nutley hoping to save us some money in the long term. We spent quite a bit of time, Mr. Scalera and Mr. Rogers, and talking about the referendum, which you also saw presented tonight. And we spent some more time talking about the policy updates, which again is still in the referendum. I appreciate the input that we had from other board members concerning certain changes we need to make to the policies. And then lastly, we talked about something that we can do with our utilities. And we're going to have a meeting again tonight. After this meeting, we're going to have a committee meeting to talk about some ways to save the district money when it comes to buying energy. As you know, through the recent laws, we're able to find the best price for our energy. And just for example, we've had a little brief survey done by one of the companies that we're looking at locally, just speaking of Radcliffe School. And again, we're going in conjunction with the town of Nutley, looking at some opportunities through the SIM program that they have, and then maybe going further, look at some other opportunities. We can see a pretty good savings just in the way that we buy our electricity rather than public service, buying it from some auction companies that will give us some better prices. One example, we did a little survey at Radcliffe School, and just very, very roughly, we're able to save about $13,000 a year in Radcliffe School, going with the new budget presentations with the electricity and bidding it out to different companies. So we're going to look at that. We're going to talk about it a little bit more tonight. It's been a productive couple of weeks for the administration committee. I think the board members will give us a hand.
Thank you, Mr. Kaczynski. Finance Committee met on March 20th. Talked about making a recommendation in this resolution tonight's agenda. Acacia to be the financial advisor. Even though the resolution with the wording was drafted by our bond counsel, which designates this as extraordinary and unspecifiable service, we did go out for bids and we received 3 bids. Acacia, they actually dropped their price, knowing what the other 2 bids were, and we recommended that they have a lot of work and felt that they were disqualified to do the job. Discussed the budget presentation, and Mrs. Yanni to make sure that there were certain elements of the presentation that impact on the district with respect to the class size and the programs. Make sure that was a part of tonight's presentation. The business office is in the process of collecting data on the rental fees that other districts charge for using facilities. We did not get the data in time for our last meeting. The business administrator putting together a side-by-side chart together with recommendations on what that fee schedule should be of the rent out or facilities for various types of use. With respect to the church, we discussed various amendments to the current agreement and also the fee schedule that we should charge for the church. We'll be making a recommendation. Discuss the referendum surplus. We asked the CNUs to provide us with what the estimated amount would be, and we recommend that the projects, potential projects, that are prioritized talk about excess surplus. As you saw tonight's budget presentation, throughout the previous year, and that poses some problems going into next year's budget, and that we're recommending that we target a level of excess surplus per year at about $500 million, the appropriate level. We discussed the vehicle maintenance, so that and the bid will be prepared and issued next month. Shared services, we discussed the shared services in the town, and I asked that the business administrator work with the finance department of the township to quantify what we're doing, what are we doing now, quantify it, and quantify areas of potential additional savings. Finally, we talked about the professional service contract. Mrs. Hemans reviewed the list of professional service contracts which are going the April meeting, will be effective July 1st. And we discussed those. One of the things that came out of the discussion is that we want to look at, see if we can have the town physician be a shared service.
Mr. President,
Yes.
one last comment, people. More report. Regarding an idea that did emanate from our board retreats, and I'm glad that the administration has taken full charge on this issue in terms of implementing a series of parental workshops. This is actually planned for the 2012-2013 academic year. So in essence, these key transition points from kindergarten going into 6th, 7th grade, 8th, 9th grade, as well as Ms. Casilli will also be implementing workshops dealing with a whole host of other issues. So those are planned throughout the entire school year, and it's a way to increase our way of communicating with parents and so forth.
Thank you. Thank you. Hearing of citizens. Now comes the portion of the meeting where we allow members of the public to address the board. In this section, we allow questions or comments only on the resolutions addressed in tonight's agenda. Board regulations allot 20 minutes for these communications. These portions are limited to 3 minutes. We ask you to try to stay within this requirement. Speakers may speak more than once, only after all of those wishing to speak on the topic of the board. All statements will be directed to me as chairperson, and no one may address the board members individually. Please be reminded that if your statement is too lengthy, personally directed, obscene, irrelevant, or redundant, your participation may be terminated. Please remember always to state your name and address during the time you address the board. The first person who should be heard, please step forward.
I just want to thank the academic committee for really, I know it's a result of the CUSAC, but kind of addressing that issue.
That will be later. This is a resolution. Unless it's a resolution.
I'm
sorry about that.
Next.
Well, you can be first. See no one stepping forward. That resolution items will close this portion of the meeting. Dr. Reed, move the academic resolutions 1 through 3.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to move academic resolutions 1 through 3 as stated.
Sorry. Discussion. Seeing none, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Stanchek Morton? Yes. Mrs. Flynn? Yes. Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Dr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mrs. Russo? Yes. Mrs. Scalera?
Yes.
Mrs. Pizzata?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. Mr. Kaczynski, administrative resolutions 1 through 3.
Yes, Mr. President, I move resolution items administration 1 through 3 as so printed.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Mrs. Stanchek Morton? Yes. Mrs. Flynn? Yes. Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Dr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mrs. Russo? Yes. Mrs. Scalera?
Yes.
Mrs. Pizzata?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, Mr. Spizzato, we move finance resolutions 1 through 12.
I move finance resolutions 1 through 12 as written.
Discussion.
Finance resolution number 5 under it's called request for schools. The Atlantic Coast Football League, is that from Nutley? It says Atlantic, there's a name, I'm using the person's name, it says Atlantic Coast Football League. It says Atlantic Coast Football League, resolution 5, under requests, the first request. Is that a Nutley group? If they're not, then why isn't there a fee, even though they're using our field, even though we don't supply a custodian, it could be a fee if it was a non-Nutley agency?
In the current policy, we do not have fees for the use of this field.
Okay.
The only fee that we have is for the use of the old current. That is why we're in the process of reviewing.
So, Mr. President, I hope we're addressing that in the future because we should be addressing anybody from outside town using our facility should be paying for them. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes.
on resolution number 11, can I make a motion to amend that resolution to note that that the Finance Committee sought and obtained 3 proposals in accordance with the process that we've developed as a board, reviewed those proposals and chose Acadia as a consequence of that process?
Yes.
Can I make a motion for that? I guess it needs to be seconded.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on the motion to amend the resolution? Roll, please.
Mrs. Sanchez Morton?
Yes.
Ms. Flynn?
Yes.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Dr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mr. Russo? Yes. Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosado?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. Any other discussion on the resolutions?
Yeah, just one more discussion. I just want to note for the record that the board was concerned by using this EUS exception, and that's why the Finance Committee went through the steps of ensuring that we obtain those proposals.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, roll, please.
Mrs. Sanchez Morton?
Yes.
Ms. Flynn?
Yes on all except for 12. I have to abstain due to a firm relationship on solar for Essex County.
Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Dr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes on all.
Mrs. Russo? Yes. Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosado?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. First on the resolution, Mr. Kaczynski, we move resolution number 1.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that resolution number 1 on the Personnel Committee as prepared.
Second.
Discussion. Hearing no discussion, roll, please.
Mrs. Sanchez Morton?
Yes.
Ms. Flynn? Yes. Mr. Kaczynski?
Yes.
Dr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Rogers?
Yes.
Mrs. Russo? Yes. Mr. Scalera?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosado?
Yes.
Mr. Cook?
Yes. Hearing of the citizens. In this section, we allow questions or comments on all school-related matters. Our regulations allow 30 minutes for these communications. Again, each person shall be limited to 3 minutes, and we ask you to try to stay within this requirement. All statements will be directed to me as chairperson, and no one may address board members individually. Please be reminded that if your statement is too lengthy, personally directed, abusive, obscene, irrelevant, or redundant, participation may be terminated. Please remember always to state your name and address each and every time you address the board. First person wishing to speak, please step forward.
You're on.
53 Lakeside Drive. I just wanted to restate again, really thanking the academic committee for getting a little bit more forensic with the elementary schools, because there clearly is a disconnect between the curriculum and the schools. And, you know, having a 6th grader coming out of Yanakaw, you always wonder, oh, geez, you know, how prepared are our Yanakaw kids going to be compared to Spring Garden, you know, versus Washington? I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, Amy Christman, 237 River Road. I was just curious, how does a class go about being approved as an elective, say in junior high?
As far as how we approve the program of studies in the past, I can't speak to, but now we have a program of studies. What will happen moving forward is that every late summer, early fall, we start to review what we plan for the following academic year. At that point in time, new courses will be proposed and kind of run through the academic committee. We usually bring the content supervisors and, if necessary, certain teachers to talk about the value of the course, how it will run, what it will cost, what students will get out of the course, etc. And then they'll vote on whether or not we're making that part of the draft program of studies. From there goes to the full board. He makes it through that process. It becomes actually one of the course offerings either at the middle school or at the high school.
Okay, okay. I was hoping to make a suggestion of maybe offering GT at the junior high level as an elective,
GT.
gifted and talented.
Well, okay.
I know there's the vector program, but still, I know there are middle schools in Essex County that do offer it, like in addition to accelerated classes, and just having, just to have some differential curriculum. Because some of those vector classes, it's not quite the same.
We just to speak to that concern, Ms. Villani can jump in if she wants. The reason I just want to clarify, you might get some talented with GT, is that it's not truly an elective that anyone would sign up for per se.
Correct. You have to be invited in, maybe.
Exactly. And
something along those lines.
All the way coming from Mr. Glitch's first questions with the coordinators and the rest, we're looking at how we build our rigor, if you will, and seriously looking at our gifted and talented program K-12 to make sure that we have the appropriate offerings throughout. We've been examining exactly what vector is, what it takes to get to vector, and what vector is actually pushing, and if it's rigorous enough to be called gifted and talented. And we've come to a variety of answers, but that's something that's going to continue.
Okay. I mean, how do I stay informed about that?
Yeah. And then we're trying to be better when it comes to communications. One of the first things is actually having a program of studies, so that people are talking about it now, it's out in public, you can download and read it, you know who to ask, of whom to ask questions. That's one piece, but one of the things that we're trying to do is, as we go through these reviews of the program, is have these meetings with parents at different levels. As we've introduced the program studies first at the high school and then the middle school, to invite parents in and talk about exactly that. As Dr. Reed mentioned before, though, we've been working with Ms. Devillia to make sure that we have a set program for parents, K-12. So every year, there are certain things that we offer to kindergarten parents versus third grade parents versus sixth grade parents before they have their kids journey into middle school, so that you kind of understand that, kind of laying out the vocabulary that we use.
Right.
So as a parent, you're informed, you're familiar with that, it's something that makes sense, plus you can ask questions to the appropriate people. We're working to start that even as early as next year.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wishing to be heard? If not, I'll close this portion of the meeting. Old business.
Mr. President, under all business, and I want to thank the people that have participated in this. I've been mentioning the TD Affinity Program, which is when people in the community sign up to the TD Bank, make a deposit there, a check account there. TD Bank will automatically donate a certain amount of money back to the Educational Foundation in Nutley, which was previously started by yourself, Mrs. Ellen, I believe, and we've been picking up the pace a little bit, and we haven't received yet. We received a letter that telling us that they're going to make a donation this year of $5,288 to the Educational Foundation in Nutley, which again, Mr. Lazovic and Fred and myself and I were very involved in, and then the superintendent and the principals of the individual schools will make a choice on what best needs that money can serve. So I just want to thank everybody involved, and this is all part of our program with the Meridian for the elected concern and the TD Bank. We need to keep up the good work. The other thing under the old business, it'll be under the business also. Go ahead.
This would be in reference to the report from the academic committee, so is that the old business? Is that what Mr. Reed? Is that okay? In your minutes, you talked about field trips. So the community members received a number of field trips for out-of-state and overnight trips. Some of the trips were approved, other trips require additional information. I've had multiple phone calls, especially about the girls softball program. Is that one of those ones that was held up on the approval list? They just came back from their last trip. They were down to the Bloomfield and other districts, and I know that was brought up before by your committee. So I was wondering if that is one of those, is that the softball program that's held up in those other additional trips?
Do you recall where they were going? I'm not sure.
They go to Florida each year, and they miss days of school. I know your committee's brought it up before. It's been a very successful program. You can't move the week. They're down there with Bloomfield and other towns up here. I mean, there were hundreds. They do it that 1 week down there. So my question is, is that one of the trips?
No, that was an issue that was brought to our attention, which we will accommodate that request this year. But moving forward, I think the biggest concern was interfering with class time. I understand that these schedules kind of run awry and conflict and what have you, but I think that's been an ongoing concern for the academic committee, is trying to ensure that we are identifying these class trips at times when students are not actually enrolled in the course of studies. That was the primary concern that we had at the time.
Then I would ask, like we've done in the past, that you meet with the parents from there. They're very concerned. They're like, well, why don't you make sure that a student has to be above a certain grade average, but it is a tremendous program. It's what makes us have a very successful softball program, girls softball. And I know there's other ones too. I'm just using this one because it's the largest calls that I got. But I think we need to look at it and evaluate it. And they said, maybe girls have to be above a certain grade level so they keep their grade up to go. But they feel it really would affect the successfulness. And we're supposed to be about academics, about sports, it all ties together. So I think it needs to be looked at closely on those ideas.
No, to my knowledge, it was just put on hold, so that was an issue that we wanted to ensure. But again, moving forward, we wanted to at least identify times during the year when it's not going to interfere with the course.
Well, the week can't be moved, so we either have to work on it with the parents that it doesn't interfere or not. But the parents that have people, girls in that program, wanted to continue. So I think, if anything, like we've met with other groups in the past, that's one of the groups that your committee should have a hearing with prior to making the
We'll
change.
take that into consideration, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other old business?
I just wanted to give an update on the schedule that was presented. I received a number of, comments in response to next year's school calendar count. That's why it's old business. And I received a lot of positive feedback about the half days that were really, people were responsive to the idea that we're really trying to streamline the amount of half days they're having in an academic year, because they too feel like it's sometimes a lost day for their kids. But there were some concerns about the length of the school year that was mentioned, so I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention before I forgot. Because there was a lot of questions about that, even at the PTOs.
Any other old business? New business?
New business, Mr. President. In a discussion with some of my board members, and I must first of all compliment Mr. Rogers on the job that he does bringing his information back to the director of school PTOs as far as what goes on at our school board meetings. But I don't have the luxury or the time to find myself able to do that. So I discussed with a couple of our board members, particularly Vicki and Lisa, and they offered to maybe consolidate their concerns, and after a board meeting, if it's okay with the rest of the board members, they would, or I would ask them to put up, we would put out some information to all the PTOs, giving a rough information on what took place at our board meetings. Just a matter-of-fact information item that would go out to all the PTOs coming from the Board of Education, rather than us all trying to streamline into our own schools. I would find that beneficial to myself, and I think other representatives.
Certainly, if you are effective in some time.
I think so, and since they've been willing to step up and offer, and I would fit in there if I could, that would be, I think, it's beneficial for all of us.
Okay, I was asking any comments on this particular point. I think it's a good suggestion, and I think we will follow up and do it.
Another question I have, Mr. President, under old business, or I'm sorry, under new business, and it's too bad it's wasted on this acoustics in this room, because it's hard to say what the point that I'm trying to make. I think sometimes the responsibilities of the board members and the time and energy that we put in, which is what we're elected for, but to disseminate down to the PTOs sometimes what we do as board members, what involvement we are with our different committees. I would hope that the board members, when they go as PTO representatives, pass that on to the PTOs on what committees what's going on with all the committees, what work is going on behind the scenes to bring us to the meetings that we come to once a month. If the board members aren't doing that at the PTO meetings, then I would suggest that either the president or the vice president of the board make it a point to find themselves at one or two of the PTO meetings throughout the whole year to give a presentation to them and let them know what we do as board members.
It's a good suggestion.
I want to share a story with my colleagues in public proceedings about something that how's this, a lot better? I'd like to share a story with the public and with some of my colleagues tonight. I think a story that is rather indicative of what we see in Nutley as far as commitment and dedication on the part of our staff, some of the people that work with us. My wife and I have been walking down the street a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed a Nutley school bus parked in someone's driveway. It was actually the bus driver's driveway. They happened to be off duty, which makes the story a little bit more extraordinary. And I see the windows of the bus open, I see the doors open, and I told my wife, I said, I wonder what this is all about. So I decided to go up to this bus driver's bus. And here, as I look in, there's this bus driver on hands and knees with a bucket of water and soap, scrubbing that bus down. And there I saw the Lysol spray can, and I saw more soap, more water, a hose. And I asked this bus driver, I said, what are you doing? She said, well, you know, I transport students every day, and I want to make sure that they're in the cleanest bus in town. You know, I stood there, and I thanked her. I thanked her very much for that commitment and dedication. It took me back to a time when we saw a lot of that, many, many years ago. We see a lot of that today in the classrooms. We see a lot of that today with parents. But here was a bus driver. So I want to share this story with you because it's kind of a neat thing to see things like that. We don't get a chance to see them quite often. And Mr. Superintendent, you know, I wanted you to know this, and I wanted you to know this publicly, that it's the kind of people working for us. These are people that are truly committed and dedicated to our children. And we're not going to read about this in the newspaper, and not going to see it on TV. Probably won't even be talked about until after tonight's meeting. But it's something that I think is very important for each and every one of my colleagues up here to know, because I know you share the same sentiments I do about our staff, about their dedication and commitment. And Mr. Kaczynski, I have to say, I really thought about you too when I saw that bus driver, because I know how you feel about, you know, the maintenance staff and all of the people in the district that work for us. So my hat's off to that bus driver and everybody else in this district who's working hard as we really want them to. So thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. President. I just wanted to extend my thanks and appreciation to the Academic Booster Club for sponsoring an extremely successful event this past Saturday. I know Trustee Flynn and my daughter participated in that event, and so needless to say, as a parent, it was a very exciting endeavor in terms of the educational enrichment that was involved in that whole feat. I think we had over 140 participants, 105 projects, and a testament to the dedication, the parents, as well as the club. We have such an impressive feat. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. President, can I just add to Trustee Reed's comments? I think Lisa deserves a big round of applause because her and her committee, like, there's a small committee of few people who put that together, and Lisa's one of the leaders, so we should thank her for going out of her way.
If I could, Mr. President, on the same subject, I was going to thank Lisa because I was one of the judges there the other day, and I want to tell you something. I learned more about chocolate and Coco Chanel and lipstick than I really think I wanted to know. But our kids, they were amazing speaking about these topics. And I have to tell you something, I'll say it here, but I learned about fair trade in chocolate, and that they still use, you know, unfair labor in the production of chocolate outside the United States where they do the beans. And I'll leave it out, and this one kid told me, that, and I won't say it here because I don't want to talk about a company, but he actually went through all the companies and told me the one big company won't eat their chocolate anymore because they don't have the fair trade labor market and they won't agree to it on their chocolate. So we have, it was a third grader, well, we're telling people, don't eat that chocolate because they don't treat their workforce and their labor right. I thought it was unique, so I just have to say they did a great job.
Any other new business?
Mr. President, the business administrator mentioned a variance that Mr. Spizzato will be handling. That will be placed on Ed, right, so that we can see it before, so we can get an update?
Yes.
Because it wasn't right. It wasn't. I didn't miss it, right? And do we know what the variance is about, or?
I was going to brief you guys in executive on it since it is legal. I don't know if I should talk about it
Okay.
now.
I don't know.
But it's really something that just happens to be in the 200 feet radius of us.
Okay.
So it's really not a school issue.
And then on, I guess it's, okay. All right, thank you.
Any other new business? Not close this portion of the meeting, and whereas Board of Education will be discussing matters exempt from public discussion pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Education recess and close executive session at this time to discuss student matters, negotiations, legal matters relative to OFAC's decision, township contractual agreements, and personnel. Be it further resolved that the results of the discussion will be made public by inclusion on the agenda of a subsequent meeting of the Board of Education, or when the reasons for discussing such matters in closed session no longer exist. So move. Those in favor? We will adjourn. We will return to executive session